I always wondered what is it about some women or characters that makes them so unforgettable. On my channel we are slowly unraveling the art behind feminine magnetism and charm, qualities that go far beyond physical appearance. You see, magnetism isn't just about looks, it is about presence. And today's character, Megara from Disney movie Hercules, stands out as one of the most intriguing and magnetic characters in the history of Disney movie princesses. Well, at least in my opinion. Her allure goes far beyond the surface level of physical beauty, and there is certainly a lot to learn from her. She is not just the typical Disney princess, and this is exactly why she is so alluring. And so, what is it about Meg that makes her so irresistible? And so today we are diving deep into what makes Megara from Hercules one of the most fascinating characters in the history of Disney movies. We will go deeper into her personality, her narration, and how she redefines the concept of femininity within the context of this film. And so let's break it all down, because magnetism is certainly something you can create. So starting our analysis, Meg is not just the typical damsel in distress. I think the first interaction with Hercules sets the tone for her character. Confident, witty, and completely unfazed by traditional expectations. In fact, her entire persona goes against the idea of the helpless princess that we often see in Disney films. Meg's body language communicates confidence and self-possession. She is unafraid to take up space, leaning against pillars and walking confidently across the screen, often smirking in a way that suggests she's always one step ahead. This embodiment of confidence, independence, and control makes her physically magnetic in a way that is less about traditional feminine softness and more about strength and self-awareness. So starting our analysis with her femininity, and Megara embraces her feminine power in a way that's refreshingly modern. She is alluring, yes, but not in a superficial or overly innocent way. Her femininity is dynamic, showcasing both strength and vulnerability. Her physical appearance, those striking eyes, the sleek curves of her dress, and her luminous hair embodies a classic beauty that feels almost timeless. However, this is not just about how she looks, it is about how she moves. Notice how she's always in control of her body language. She is fluid, graceful, and self-assured. Whether she is casually leaning against a pillar or walking with that iconic sway, Megara knows how to use her physicality to her advantage, expressing her femininity not as a weakness but as a weapon of power. And in that way, she reminds me of Jessica Rabbit that I have just done a video analysis on. Meg's version of femininity is quite complex, challenging traditional representations of women in Disney films. And while early Disney princesses like Snow White or Aurora were defined by their purity, innocence, and quiet grace, I think Meg represents a more real form of femininity. She is confident, assertive, and unafraid to express her opinions, even if they are cutting or sarcastic, as we can see in her early interactions with Hercules. But yet, despite her independence, Meg's femininity is not portrayed as cold or distant. Rather, it is infused with warmth and passion that slowly reveals itself as the film progresses. Meg initially presents herself as emotionally detached, particularly when it comes to matters of the heart. Her famous line, "I am a damsel, I am in distress, I can handle this, have a nice day," perfectly shows her rejection of the traditional damsel in distress role. However, as she grows closer to Hercules, we can see her begin to soften. Her emotional vulnerability, which she has guarded so fiercely, starts to emerge as she grapples with her feelings for him. I think Megara is a very interesting character because of her moral complexity. She is certainly not an idealized version of womanhood. She is flawed, having made mistakes in the past that continue to haunt her. She works for Hades, an immoral god, and initially deceives Hercules as part of her bargain with him. However, this complexity doesn't really take away from her femininity, and instead it actually enhances it, as Megara is not just one-dimensional figure of virtue but a fully realized character who struggles with her own morality, making her far more compelling and magnetic than a typical Disney princess. I think she actually shows us that we can move on from any mistakes from the past and transform ourselves for the better. And so she's such a real and relatable character, and I really love her for that. Then moving on, Meg's most attractive and magnetic quality is definitely her personality. Her sarcastic tone and humor really sets her apart from other Disney princesses who were often defined by their innocence and kindness. Meg, on the other hand, is sharp and self-reliant. She doesn't really wait for a hero to save her. Initially, she really rejects the idea of being saved altogether. I think this independence is central to her character and one of the key reasons for her magnetism. And to add to that, what makes Meg so much more interesting is that her independence is not just a superficial trait, but it is rooted in her backstory. Her independence stems from the choices that she has made, some of which have had devastating consequences. Her backstory reveals that she has sold her soul to Hades to save the life of a man that she loved, only for him to abandon her. This betrayal has left Meg disillusioned with love and wary of emotional vulnerability. And her cynicism is not just a defense mechanism, but it is a sign of her deep intelligence and experience with the harsher realities of life. She understands the world in a way that most Disney heroines do not. And this knowledge gives her a sense of control over her own destiny even when she's working under Hades' thumb. And so her independence is not just an act of rebellion, but a hard-won characteristic developed through her personal hardship. She is a woman who had to learn to fend for herself, and this self-reliance is incredibly magnetic because it challenges the traditional notion that a woman must be saved or protected by a male hero. I think her allure lies in her ability to be strong and self-sufficient. Now moving on, the next point is intelligence. Megara's wit shines in nearly every conversation. Her sarcasm is her shield, a way of maintaining control in situations where she feels emotionally vulnerable. Her clever comebacks give her an edge, making her really stand out as one of the most intellectually engaging Disney characters. And so she's not just reactive, she is proactive, constantly reading the room, assessing the situation, and crafting responses that make her the master of every interaction. Also, let's not forget that Meg's intelligence isn't just about sharp remarks. However, it is also about strategic thinking. She knows how to navigate dangerous situations. And whether she is bargaining with Hades or figuring out how to save Hercules without compromising her independence, in the end, her wit and intelligence aren't just charming. They are integral to her survival. She is constantly making calculated decisions in a world where most people underestimate her, and she uses that to her advantage. And the last point is emotional depth. Despite her guarded nature, Meg's emotional depth is another part of what makes her so attractive. Beneath the sarcasm and the hard exterior is someone who longs to be loved but is afraid to get hurt again. And I think this vulnerability makes her relatable to us, the viewers. We can actually see her struggle to open up to Hercules, but when she finally does, it is a beautiful moment of growth. She is strong, yes, but her strength comes from balance of her toughness and her ability to allow herself to feel again. And so beneath her sarcasm and cynicism, Meg is deeply wounded by her past. She has been hurt by love, and as a result, she has built emotional walls to protect herself. And this makes her decision to open up to Hercules all the more powerful. And so Meg's journey from emotional guardedness to vulnerability is one of the most compelling aspects of this beautiful character. When she finally admits her feelings for Hercules, it is not a moment of weakness but of immense strength. I think Meg's vulnerability is tied to her redemption. By choosing to love again despite her fear of being hurt, Meg reclaims her own humanity. She sacrifices herself for Hercules, and in doing so, she breaks free from Hades' control. I think this act of selflessness combined with her emotional growth throughout the movie makes Meg a truly magnetic figure. She's not only strong and independent, but also capable of great love and sacrifice. And this balance between strength and vulnerability is what makes her so attractive. It is in the heart of her femininity and a very key point to her overall magnetism. So now, on a final note, Megara's magnetism lies in her ability to navigate the dualities of life. strength and vulnerability, independence and love, intelligence and passion. Her story resonates with us because it speaks to the complexity of womanhood and the power embracing all aspects of ourselves, flaws and all. In the end, Megara's appeal is a combination of many factors. Her undeniable femininity, her enigmatic femme fatale persona, and her razor-sharp intelligence. She's both strong and vulnerable, confident and cautious, playful yet profound. Her complexity is what makes her so magnetic. So Megara is not a one-dimensional heroine. She is multifaceted, nuanced, and utterly captivating. I think Megara is a symbol of strength, wit, and emotional complexity. And especially in a world of cookie-cutter characters, Megara stands out as a true original. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.